and Kirk Market. Experience a world of choice. And by JGP Janitorial. Lose the mop, they'll clean the slop. JGP Janitorial, 548-1221.
And now, Radio K-Man presents The Business Buzz, an insightful and fresh take on a variety of issues that impact the local business environment. This is where we address the business topics that matter. Radio K-Man's Business Buzz. Here's your host, Kathy Miller.
Good morning, K-Man. Happy Tuesday morning. It's Tuesday, December 10th. I'm quite excited. We're not too far away from Christmas, and I know everybody's excited out there, and the vibes are in the air. That Christmas spirit is in the air. We're definitely feeling it. I'm very excited. In this show, I have two great guests. I'm welcoming Kayla Welds and Keevon Douglas, and we are going to be talking about an issue that directly impacts the future of the Cayman Islands, which is participation in our democratic process. We know election season is upon us, and the date for the next general elections is April 30th, 2025. As of October 1st, 2024, so this year, there are a total of 23,529 Caymanians registered to vote. The average age of those electors is 52 years old. 52 years old, the average age of voters. Of the 23,529 registered electors, only 4%, or 929 Caymanians, aged 24 and under, are among those registered to vote. The next smallest number of voters are seniors aged 75 years old and up. And the third smallest group of voters fall between the ages of 25 to 34. Literally our next generation of people that are coming up that are supposed to be carrying this country, our future. Representing just 3,194 voters. That is between the ages of 25 to 34, only 3,194 voters. So from 18 to 34 years old, there are 4,123 voters out of a total of 23,529. That's not very much. That's a very, very, very small number. From those numbers alone, it is clear that our younger generation, mainly Generation Z and Millennials, they're feeling disengaged from politics. Many are disillusioned, expressing concerns about the lack of visible leadership, the high cost of living, stagnant wages, and broader frustrations with the political system. These challenges touch every aspect of daily life, from jury duty to home ownership. This morning, we're joined by our two guests, Keevon Douglas and Kayla Welds, to share their perspectives on what's causing Gen Z's and Millennials' disconnection from politics and what the main concerns are for the current and future state of the country, and ideas on how we can bring about some of that change. So, good morning to my guests.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Bit of a long intro, but thank you for bearing with me through that. How are you doing this morning?
Good.
Good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Early.
Yes, I know. But I think you start a little early too, Kayla.
Yes, I do.
So I'm going to just start off with that first question here. Why do you think Caymanians, particularly Gen Z and Millennials, are so disconnected from politics and government? What factors do you think most contribute to their lack of interest or trust in the system? I know you're excited. Oh,
Yeah.
that was okay.
So it's funny enough because I've had this conversation quite a bit. I think the reason why my generation, Gen Zs, are so disconnected, if you ever take a look at what these politicians are talking about now, they're talking about pension, talking about retirement. None of this pertains to us right now. Like the issues that they're discussing have nothing to do with this generation. They're more focused on the older generation, and I think that's where we get disengaged. They're not making us a part of the solution either. They're not talking directly to us. They kind of forget about us at this point because we feel like we don't matter in this point. I'll let Keevon touch a little bit more. I mean, I have more to say, but go ahead.
No, I agree. I agree with everything. I watched a video today on TikTok that was, I think, 5 minutes and 51 seconds long about what she just discussed. And it was a politician. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, I can't connect to this video. I can't.
Was it a local politician?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I may have gotten the seconds wrong by a couple seconds, but it was a long video just about these particular issues. And the same thing I'm saying is it's like I can't connect. Even when I look in the government, I can't connect with anybody there. So that's another problem as well. And then if you're saying that we are the future, make us connect, hear our voice. And I've been in that room and my voice just isn't heard. I think a lot of people feel that way.
When you say your voice isn't heard, what do you mean by that?
You offer solutions, you offer ideas, and it's just like, okay, whatever you say. Or for example, my side, I'm coming from a business owner perspective. I'm often looked at and trying to see, can we get that cheaper too? So it's no value there as well. Sometimes these politicians will say, well, can we get that free? I mean, you wouldn't go into a supermarket and ask for groceries for free. So why are you looking at me, a younger Caymanian, and asking to get my product for free? So there's a lot of reasons, and these are just a handful.
Right. I'd have to say I personally understood where you come from when you think that maybe your voice isn't being heard, because I know at a meeting a few weeks ago you brought up some questions.
Oh yeah.
And to me, what it seemed like the concern was mostly, all right, well, we don't really have enough time to be answering all the questions, but the meeting was almost 3 hours long.
Can I talk about that real quick?
Absolutely, 100%.
That is the major problem. It's almost, and I'm not pointing at those four individuals. I'm just saying this is a common thing where how long was it? Almost 3 hours,
all right. 2.5 or so.
And I think we had 20, 30 minutes max. So I would say to any politician listening right now, listen more, talk less.
Yeah.
Right? I get that you have issues internal, but you can't fix other things unless you learn to listen.
Right.
So this is the thing, and where they're rushed and the answers are not being answered. In their defense, they seen me the next day and they apologize, and they say they did not understand the gravity of my question. So I will say that they did understand, and they did look back and say, we should have listened a little bit more. We should have understood what this person was trying to say. Just because you're on a podium, don't think that we don't have the right as Caymanians to come there and question things that are being done. And the way that you respond, the way that you handle those questions will say a lot about you as well,
right,
as an individual. So you should be able to take criticism. That's your job to do.
Absolutely.
As a public elected member.
Absolutely.
No, I agree. I think what most of the public just wants is open communication, constant open communication, not having to guess like what's going on when these four just kind of pulled away. Obviously, that meeting was there for them to address. But did you feel like you got anything out of that meeting?
I'll say I did from when I went back to listen to it. Understanding where, for example, MP Catherine Ebanks Welds, where she came from and what she had to go through, 100%. That was a big revelation in my eyes for me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think I got to see their side and understand their side. So I'm a person, I try to have as much empathy as I can, and putting myself in their shoes and understanding what they're going through and what I would do in the same situation, and I could understand the frustration. I mean, if I am sitting and I am writing notes to give to said people for them to look over, and they're not looking over these notes, they're going behind my back and making, deals. This right. I would be frustrated.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is, and this kind of goes back to what my question was. My question was, when last have we looked at our systems?
Right.
And when last have we flushed them out to see what's working, what's not working? And this is from a entrepreneur standpoint. Like, if it's not working, we gotta fix it.
I agree with that. 100% agree with that. It's interesting because you brought up TikTok, which is...
I did?
I mean, you said you saw a video on TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
You were listening to a local politician over a 5-minute spiel that they were giving on TikTok about some of the issues, and I think it was pension, retirement that Kayla had first mentioned.
Yeah.
That
so
she's hearing them talk. No, I haven't seen it. You said I haven't seen it as yet.
Okay.
But because I was not going to get TikTok, and I recently got it. I'm trying to let the whole world know that. But recently, because main thing for me is that it's becoming one of the biggest search engines in the world, and that blew me away. And they also changed how they're really doing TikTok now. So I know that they took a totally different approach, and I respect that. But that's a whole different conversation. However, TikTok is very greatly a social media platform that is the highest engagement really is with Gen Z and millennials. And I'm the the older part of the millennial crowd. I'm like what is that, Generation X?
Gen X.
Yeah, Gen X, millennial, that cusp right there.
Okay.
But you know, I like to think I'm young in the sense I am young in the sense that I'll get involved with whatever I can. But TikTok. So in saying that, if you're looking at the audience that's mostly on TikTok, it is a younger audience, and sometimes we've complained about these politicians or MPs not using certain channels or social media platforms, whatever it is that we might be on, where we're consuming information or entertainment, or whatever it is, they're not on these platforms. And there has been a change in that in the past 8 years or so. But we still know that the average age of voters is 52. So perhaps they're making a right switch in incorporating the other social platforms and media to talk to all the generations. But what I'm understanding, it's the message that they're sharing on those platforms is wrong. The target audience is not responding to that actual message.
You want to touch on it?
Yeah, you can go first.
I think one of the major reasons is, who's directing them, right? So who's in your PR team? And I know this from experience. We have politicians, we have parties that they will hire PR teams outside of Cayman, which is understandable. However, the deep-rooted boots on the ground, the message never gets through correctly because you're hiring, number one, you're going outside of Cayman, which again, that's, your choice to make, but that's where you lack. These people don't understand the culture. They don't understand the heritage. So they're copying and pasting what's working in their demographic. It just doesn't work here. And then that's another aspect that I would love to talk on later on the show, where I think they had, I think on a different show, they were talking about tourism product and using influencers. Agree with everything that was said on that show. But as a creator, I understand the devaluing of creators on island, and I can speak firsthand. So this isn't hearsay, where we are not being used as the right tool. We're looked at as a second option.
Not even a second option a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And so I completely agree with you, Keevon. That's a really, really great point. We have to go to our first commercial break, but when we come back, we will continue the discussion.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series. Brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
During the tenure of Commissioner Hearst, who took up his post in March of 1907, Grand Cayman saw a number of social and physical developments. Along with the major road constructions, Mr. Hearst established a proper police force and internal post service. In September of 1907, the previous title of Sergeant Major of Police was replaced with Inspector, and the force was expanded to 4 permanently paid constables and 8 district constables. District constables were only paid when called to duty. The new police unit was put to multitasking to keep costs down, and officers doubled as postmen as well as customs collectors. The inspector was therefore also the tide waiter or chief customs officer. Mr. Hearst was also responsible for the new police station, public works office, government house, the fish market at Hogstye Bay, the government savings bank in 1908, the new seawall and dock in Georgetown, along with new piers at Bordentown, the Georgetown Bacadere, and Badabinu.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community, a traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way, positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman's historical vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
I'm Michael Webster.
And I'm Denise Brown of Cayman Insurance Center.
Family is not the most important thing, it's everything.
We have worked with the community and their families on protecting themselves for the future.
Whether it's providing top-rated life insurance
or protecting your family's household investment.
From our family to yours, we understand and we care.
I'm Denise Brown. Call me at 814-7229.
And I'm Michael Webster at 925-5433.
We are Cayman Insurance Center,
specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services at an affordable rate. We are Michael and
Denise at Cayman Insurance Center.
Call today.
This holiday season, let Kirk Market do the roasting so you can do the hosting. Visit in-store or shop online and order your traditional family feast, complete with classic roasted turkey and ham, all the tasty sides and trimmings. Let the chefs at Kirk Market be your holiday helpers so you can spend less time in the kitchen. Order online at kirkmarket.ky or visit in-store today. And don't forget to visit the florist at Kirk Market to find the perfect centerpiece for your table. There's no place like Kirk Market for the holidays.
The holiday season is approaching, which means the holiday gatherings and a little bit of me time.
Beacon Furniture has the perfect selection of furniture pieces to bring comfort and joy to your home.
Comfortable seating, cozy bedroom furniture, the perfect dining set to fit your guests, mattresses that are just right, and gorgeous home accessories.
Beacon Furniture offers free delivery and setup. Visit us at 386 Shamrock Road, across from the Seafarers Hall in Prospect, or call 943-2500.
Happy holidays from Beacon Furniture.
Nominations are now open for National Heroes Day Awards 2025. This year, we honor Caymanian excellence in business in recognition of the icons of entrepreneurship, innovation, and leadership, those whose ingenuity and hard work have shaped our business community. Submit your nomination online at gov.ky/labor or email nhd@gov.ky for more details. Nomination deadline has been extended to December 14th. Don't wait. Make your nomination today.
The Business Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller. Business Buzz.
Welcome back to the Business Buzz. I'm your host, Kathy Miller, and in studio I have with me Keevon Douglas and Kayla Welds, and we are talking about election season that's coming up and why we're not having enough voters between the ages of 18 to 34 registered to vote. Why there's a lot of disengagement, disillusionment when it comes to politics, government systems, trust, and the issues that are affecting those two generations. And at the beginning of the show, I was asking what factors do they think most contribute to the lack of interest from these generations when it comes to politics, when it comes to election season. And my question for you here is, in your early 20s, was voting something that mattered to you? Was that ever something that was on your mind that you thought about?
No, not at all. And I think most of us, and we can speak, we kind of just went with what our parents were voting for, because that's the only way we got that information, was inside when you're home and you're hearing your parents talk about it. But like I mentioned before, none of the issues that were discussed within any of these rallies had anything to do with me or my age group. So I didn't pay attention.
Agree. I remember my mother, I don't want to say forcing me, but directing me in this area here to, who I should vote for, why I should vote for them. But again, it's the common issue. And this is not anything new. Which off air we spoke about. Was it me and you? I can't remember who I spoke to. Still early, but if there are issues happening over and over, just look at it, fix it, and that's from a business owner standpoint. If things just are not working correctly, somebody has to look at it and say, this is not working. Like, what is the issue?
Right.
And the fact that we're here having this conversation highlights the issue.
Absolutely.
Right. So if we look at when I was in my 20s, how long ago that was, I'm not saying I'm old, but I'm out of my 20s now, and that issue still has not been corrected,
Yeah.
then you have a priority issue.
Right. Right. I feel you. The issues that are most affecting or you're most concerned about in your generation now, which you're both millennials,
Mhm.
also for Gen Z, if I know, Kayla, you spoke to a couple of people, and as did I, what are the biggest issues and concerns impacting or affecting your generation?
It's the cost of living, the housing. Like a lot of, well, I can't speak for myself, but I know a lot more. I was one of those fortunate ones, but a lot of generation millennials and Gen Zs now are worried, like, what happens when I'm ready to purchase a home? They can't afford it. And if they don't have those parents that are fortunate enough to lend them for a down payment, they're staying with their parents until they're in their 30s.
Right.
There's no cap. There's the
What do
cost
you mean
of
by
living.
cap?
Like, there's no cap on, I guess, property. Like, it just keeps going up. It's being, because the demand is coming from outside, you have realtors that are bringing in international clients that raise the price. The demand is there. So, of course, it's going to go up. But there's no protection for Caymanians to be able to be like, you know what? Yes, we have the first-time buyer in place, but that still doesn't help them because the properties that are there that are $600,000, half these people can't even make that. So what's the point?
Right.
Yeah.
It takes a while to even save to
Yeah.
have that little down payment.
Yeah.
No matter what. And then when that offer is, you can borrow against your pension as well. That's an offer. That doesn't really work for people that are in their 20s.
No.
There's barely a pension there to borrow from. Keevon, what about yourself? What would you say the issues affecting your generation are?
I would say the same thing, at least on where I'm at in my life. But I want to give a perspective, not a necessarily different perspective, but an in-depth dive of why I think that's happening. And I gave this to probably 3 or 4 people in the tourism industry. And you might be thinking, why am I mentioning tourism with a housing issue? So my perspective is, on the same show that I mentioned before the last break, they touched on the marketing engine of tourism and who that is directed at. So let me explain from my perspective, and these are my opinions, and feel free to call in and correct me if I'm wrong. We are marketing this island to baby boomers.
Yeah.
Right? So Rosa spoke about this on the show. And I understand, but understand that these baby boomers have disposable income. So they're coming to this island and they're seeing the potential of investment opportunities, buying the properties. This is what's spiking the rent. This is what's spiking everything. So one would say then, and this is very controversial, one would say the thing that is probably keeping us somewhat alive is also strangling us, because we cannot compete with the money that is coming into the island. Yes, they're coming here and they're having a relaxing time at the beach, but simultaneously they're looking at seeing how can I offload my money. You speak to any rich person, right? They'll say the best investment you're gonna make is in land. That's gonna appreciate, right? So if I have $2 million that I just don't want sitting down in a bank account, my inflation is going up higher than people are making cash, right? I'm going to put that in property because that's going to go higher than inflation. And then simultaneously, I'm going to rent that as well. So I'm going to even make even more. So this is the issue. And these are where the caps need to start being put in place. And again, the question I got asked is, why has that not been looked into by the politicians that we have in power? That's what needs to be looked into.
I think they've danced around it. I feel these are often promises that are made during campaign season.
I think that's an issue too. There's a lot of promises, but there's no action. And I know things take time, but there's no communication around it. There's no action to say, hey, this is what we're working on. And I'm going to probably divert a little bit, but the problem is a lot of these politicians have their own agendas. They're not focused on the bigger picture. They have their own agendas and they want to get that sorted and that comes, I'm going to jump, sorry.
No problem.
Like the one man, one vote thing. You have all these independents that that have different agendas, they come together and they can't make a decision. And look where we're at now in our government.
Perfect example of that. You know, we can't get along, we can't communicate, and like she said, different agendas. And you know what needs to happen? And I spoke about this a couple of years ago, and I remember nobody taking it seriously. Maybe I was taken too seriously, and maybe how I worded it was wrong. And I spoke about us coming together with our pitchforks and going out there like the old time days, right? But if they're not going to value the Gen Z and the millennials, then you do it in a way that we show them. So I always tell people in business, don't sell the drill, sell the whole. So what does it look like when you don't have our support, right? What's the value of that? So I had a politician come to me recently, won't call any names, but wanted said group of people to do things for free. Granted, he had a reason for it, but what's the value of us in this room not doing it for free and going against the grain with what you want us to do for free? What's the value of that? Now all of a sudden everybody at this table becomes valuable. The problem is a lot of Caymanians don't understand their value, so then we are also a part of the problem. And I know a certain individuals listening, and they were talking to me the other day about issues in Cayman and their solutions. But I said, you're part of the problem as well, because you don't have the cojones to go out and speak these things. So we can acknowledge that politicians aren't doing their job, but we as now individuals, Caymanians, we need to come out, and just voting isn't enough. Just putting a post on your Facebook isn't enough. And I remember an individual getting very upset on me, upset because I said this, and
because like, just posting isn't enough. They were upset that you.
Yeah, and he's on a radio show as well. And I understood his frustration because it sounded like I was targeting him. Maybe I was, because that's the issue. Like, if you think a simple post is gonna make any difference, or even, in no disrespect, you know, calling in a radio station is gonna make a difference, show me where it has.
Right. We got a minute before we've got to go to the 8 a.m. news, but do you think that because the average age of voting being 52, and they're not seeing a whole lot of rise in the younger generation registering to vote, that the politicians even care about addressing the younger generation when they're not getting those votes, period? I
got one thing, and you can go ahead. You can look at Mr. Bryan's billboard, and it says it there for you. I don't want to quote it. I have it on my other phone. Look at his billboard. It said something about like the sad truth. Question is, why is that sad? I don't want to quote it. I don't want to misquote the billboard.
No problem. You want to add to that, Kayla? Not yet. Like, all right, we're gonna come back to that thought. We're going to go to the 8 a.m. news, and when we come back, we are going to open up the phone lines in case any of the listeners out there want to call and contribute to this discussion as well. But right now, 8 a.m. news, and we'll be back at 8:15.
Thank you, Kathy. And studio time by Foster's is 8 o'clock.
Fill your cart and win. It's the 30K Jolly Grocery Giveaway at Foster's. This Christmas, we're spreading some holly jolly cheer by filling one lucky shopper's cart with $10,000 worth of groceries. Just purchase any 2 specially marked products from now until December 24th for a chance to win your share of $30,000 worth of groceries. Go to fosters.ky/jolly for more info. Thanks to Coca-Cola, Monster Energy, Tortuga Rum Cakes, Neo Netto Alcohol-Free Sparkling Wine, Newbridge, and La Blonde V. Have a holly jolly Christmas at Foster's.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm April Cummings. Parliament is taking a day off after a full day of work Monday.
Question is that this House do now adjourn until 10 a.m. on Wednesday, the 11th of December. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. I believe the ayes have it.
14 bills were debated, dealt with in committee, and then set down for a third reading on Monday. Most of the bills relate to financial services and will introduce new fees or validate and raise fees previously charged by the Cayman Islands Monetary Authority and General Registry. Final passage is expected later this meeting. Several annual reports were also tabled on Monday. You can find the House business online at parliament.ky. In addition to debating a slew of financial services bills, MPs reviewed several 2023 annual reports, including for the Public Service Pension Board.
This past year presented new challenges following a period of unique circumstances resulting from rapid inflation, increasing plan member expectations and having to continue to prove that stakeholder confidence in the Public Service Pension Board continues to be well-founded.
While tabling the report Monday, Deputy Governor, the Honourable France Manderson, told MPs the work of the Board of Directors, the management team and staff were innovative, delivering even while operating with, quote, fewer key personnel.
As the pension leader in the Cayman Islands, the Public Service Pension Fund continues to be the standard, and as of 31st of December 2023, the market value of the fund was 1.134 billion Cayman Islands dollars.
The accounts earned an unqualified opinion by the Auditor General. Land matters come up in Parliament. Radio Cayman's Carsley Fuller has the details.
Premier and Minister responsible for lands, the Honourable Juliana O'Connor-Connolly, tabled 2 reports for the vesting of Crown land on Monday, the first of which for a parcel in West Bay Beach South.
Mr. Speaker, 13B parcel 103H16 comprises of residential 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom condominium with a floor area of 1,228 square feet in the strata development known as the Grape Tree, located on Snows Lane off West Bay Road in Georgetown, Grand Cayman.
That property was first registered by a company known as Diversified Manufacturing Systems way back in 2003. However, it was struck off the register in 2009 as the registrar had reason to believe it was no longer in operation. Under Cayman's Companies Act, ownership of the property automatically became vested in the Crown after the company had been struck off for an excess of 10 years. And in 2022, Cabinet decided to take a look at selling it.
In August 2024, a bid of $805,000 was submitted by a company called Logwood Estates Limited. The offer was made and government accepted. The Cabinet did not waive the stamp duty due on the transfer.
The other report related to a simple land swap of 2 small parcels in West Bay Beach North at the junction of the Esterly-Tibbetts Highway. That exchange will result in both parties owning more contiguous parcels, better for potential development in the future. Reporting for Radio Cayman News, I'm Carsley Fuller.
That is your local news at this hour. I'm April Cummings. Now to the BBC for stories making headlines around the world.
BBC News with Justine Green. Normal life is gradually returning to the Syrian capital Damascus after the end of more than half a century of rule by the Assad family. The Islamist rebel leadership has chosen the man who's been running most of Idlib province as interim prime minister. Some civil servants have been urged to return to work. There have been further celebrations on the streets of the capital. President Erdogan of Turkey has welcomed the capture by Turkish-backed rebels of 2 Syrian towns. Tal Rifat and Menbij had been under Kurdish control. Mr. Erdogan also announced the opening of a new border crossing to encourage Syrian refugees in Turkey to return home. The UN envoy to Syria has called for an end to Israel's bombardment of sites across the country. It's carried out hundreds of airstrikes in recent days. Benjamin Netanyahu has become the first-serving Israeli Prime Minister to take the witness stand as a criminal defendant. He told the underground courtroom in Tel Aviv that the corruption charges against him were ridiculous and absurd. The political crisis in South Korea is deepening, with the president's office announcing that it's unable to say who's now running the country. The chaos began when President Yoon Suk-yeol briefly imposed martial law last week. Taiwan says China is carrying out a major military exercise near the island involving dozens of ships and aircraft. Beijing usually announces such military maneuvers, but has so far made no comment. The Sudanese military has been accused of carrying out an airstrike on a marketplace in Darfur in which more than 100 people were killed. Human rights groups say the army has committed horrific massacres in its civil war against paramilitaries. Zambia's top court has barred the former president Edgar Lungu from seeking re-election. The Constitutional Court said he'd already served the maximum 2 terms allowed by law. BBC News.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Town, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin, or the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Town. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Stay in touch with Radio Keevon with the latest up-to-date, accurate news and information. For your convenience, the headline news will be repeated on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Follow Radio Keevon on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or download the Radio Keevon app in the App Store or log on to www.radiokeevon.gov.ky and stay connected to what's happening in the community. Radio Keevon, your voice, your choice, your radio.
The holidays, a time for family, togetherness, and cherishing every moment. But it's also a time to reflect on what truly matters. Hi, I'm Rosanna Dixon. This season, give the gift of security and peace of mind with life insurance, critical illness coverage, and final expense plans. You can ensure your loved ones are protected, no matter what tomorrow brings. Call Rosanna Dixon today at 547-0952. Make those important decisions now so your family's future is safe tomorrow. Because this holiday season, protecting what matters most is the greatest gift of all. Call 547-0952 today.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Keevon's Midday Newscast. Radio Keevon, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
Radio Keevon's Super Jam Show, the #1 drive time entertainment show on your radio.
Brought to you by these kind sponsors.
The Cayman Islands Football Association, CIFA, building a better future for Cayman football.
Cayman Insurance Center.
Don't take chances with your family's future or your valuable assets. Call me today, Michael Webster, at 925-5433.
UWI Open Campus, on-site, online, and on demand.
Visit open.uwi.edu. Call them today at 946-8322.
Super Jam.
Also brought to you by
Cayman Airways. Call them at 949-2311 to book your non-stop flights to Los Angeles and Panama.
Superior Auto Center. Do it right the first time with Superior Auto.
949-9570
or 525-9571.
Superior Auto. They keep your car in tune.
And Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga wholesalers. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola.
The #1 drive time entertainment show on your radio.
The 8 a.m. weather update brought to you by
CG Bridgecay, where people come first.
Good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 80 degrees. Relative humidity is 83%. The barometric pressure is 29.95 inches and falling. The wind is east-northeast at 9 knots. Overnight low temperature was 78 degrees. Synopsis indicate moderate winds and seas expected over the next 24 hours as the pressure gradient across the northwest Caribbean weakens. Now, the forecast for the Cayman Islands for today and tonight is calling for partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of showers. Temperatures will be in the mid-80s today and will fall to the mid-70s tonight. Winds will be east to northeast at 10 to 15 knots, and seas will be moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet. Today's high tide will occur this afternoon at 12:13, high tide this evening at 5:28. The sun will set this evening at 5:47 and will rise tomorrow morning at 6:50. And the outlook is calling for an increase in wind speed expected from Thursday morning, with moderate to rough seas by Friday morning as another high-pressure system builds over the southern United States. A small craft caution is expected to be in place from Friday.
We were set
set to battle, and your Aunt Angie was leading the pack when...
Aunt Angie, what does this have to do with car damage?
Oh, right. Well, long story long. I took down the assassins and wound up inventing a new form of mixed martial arts. I became an international champion until one sore loser karate kicked my car. But I was covered with CG.
Covered for malicious damage and more. CG Brit-K. Good like that. All benefits are subject to policy provisions, including eligibility at the time of service.
The 8 a.m. weather update brought to you by
CG Brit-K, where people come first.
The Coca-Cola Christmas Parade is back tonight, Tuesday, December 10th. Radio Cayman will be bringing you coverage throughout the parade, starting from the Cayman Turtle Center at 5:30 this evening. Stops will include West Bay Fire Station, Governor Square, Cardinal Avenue, Windsor Park, Walkers Road, South Sound Dock, Shamrock Road, ending at Cecile Crichton Sports Newlands Community Park. It's the Coca-Cola Christmas Parade, happening tonight, Tuesday, December 10th.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way, positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
A $5,000 award is being offered for the return of a missing dog that goes by the name of Spiky Haggis. Spiky is white cream in color and is a Pomeranian mix. He is a small dog that has a distinctive scar above his left hip. Spiky went missing mid-November in the area of Selkirk Drive and Bimini Drive. Cayman Vets is asking that if you have seen Spiky, a white Pomeranian mixed dog, to take a picture and send it to 525-5838 or call 525-5838 with information that could lead to his return.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Enjoy a delicious start to your day with breakfast from Subway.
Good morning. Let's dive into your morning traffic. Coming from the east, expect some delays as you're heading out to Georgetown. As you approach the Linford Pearson Highway, traffic is heavy. Coming off of Barbara Thompson Way, steady traffic, as well as Agnes Way. Slow-moving traffic on Edward Street. As we look to Crew Road, traffic is slow-moving as well. Heading east on Crew Road, traffic is light to moderate. Owen Roberts Drive, no issues there as traffic is light to moderate. And coming from the West Bay four-way, start flowing moderately. On the West Bay Road in front of the Ritz, traffic is moderate in both directions. And coming off of the Esther Tibbetts Highway, traffic is moving on moderately. And continuing on to North Sound Road as well as Industrial Park area. Godfrey Nixon Way and Eastern Avenue flowing at a good pace in both directions. That's the very latest on your traffic. Join us again at about 10 minutes past 12. We'll give you another look at traffic.
Did you know ordering your favorite sandwich from Subway just got easier? Yeah, picture this. No more waiting in line. No more fussing with cash. Just a delicious taste of Subway at your fingertips. With our new app, ordering your go-to sub is as easy as a few taps on your phone. Plus, receive exclusive deals and earn loyalty points with every purchase made on the app. Download the new Subway app today and get ready to ditch the lines and drive straight into your flavor. Visit the App Store or Google Play Store on your mobile phone and search for Subway Cayman Islands. Subway. Eat fresh.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Enjoy a delicious start to your day with breakfast from Subway.
The Business Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller.
Good morning and welcome back to the Business Buzz. I am your host, Kathy Miller, and in studio I have Keevon Douglas and Kayla Welds. They are the Millennials that we have out here, registered voters. You guys are both registered voters now, right? Okay. I didn't ask that in the beginning. And we are talking about, it's upcoming election season, and we're talking about the fact that there is such a small percentage of 18 to 34-year-olds that are registered to vote. The average age of voters is 52 years old. Is it that the politicians are out of touch with the younger generation? Is the younger generation out of touch with what's going on in Cayman? And right before we went to the 8 a.m. news, I know I asked a question saying, because the average age of voters is about 52 years old, do you think that the politicians even care to frame their message to younger generations if that's not even a large percentage of who's going to be voting for them? Does it even matter to talk to you guys? And I know Keevon, you gave your answer. Kayla, Kayla, you didn't have a chance to, so right now I'm going to give you that chance to answer.
No, I think absolutely they focus more on the 52 and up age group. And you can kind of look at it based on their marketing strategies too, the way that they use Facebook and YouTube on how they get their messages across. Also, look at especially during Christmas time, it's senior citizens lunching and dinners. It's all focused on the senior citizens, which is great. But what happens to the rest of us? How do we connect with our politicians if you're not hosting events that we can get involved in? Mm-hmm. So we're kind of being singled, forgotten.
Nobody's paying attention.
No one's paying attention. Yeah.
Right. I understand that.
So do we have to wait till we're 52 to be able to
to be spoken
to and to be heard?
Okay. I'm going to also invite callers if any of our listeners would like to chime in on this conversation, because these are both two young professionals. I would like, if anybody is going to be calling in, to just keep your thoughts a little succinct. We only have until 9 a.m. And, if there's a question, make sure you pose that question. 949-6990, 925-3261. That's the WhatsApp number. You can WhatsApp or text, call or text. And 949-8037. Those are the numbers you can call. We did get a WhatsApp, and they are saying, when will we, the people, stand up and say no more? I am so proud of these young Caymanians who obviously understand the dilemma for our people and are doing something about it. How and what should other Caymanians do to save our country and its people? So that is one of the comments / questions that did come in from a listener.
I think it's sad, but I don't want to say sad. Sorry, let me retract that. Reality is, at the end of the day, if we do want power, we do have to raise that number of voters. Mm-hmm. The sad part is it won't change anything because we are regurgitating the same people of power. So, it almost comes across now, I think, with people not voting, they're taking back their power by saying we're not even going to participate in it. So it's kind of like the old people saying, cut your nose, spite your face kind of situation. What I do know, and because I have a history of media and being on the radio, holding people accountable on media and radio holds a lot of power, because these people like to have this clean whistle, right? So when we come on and we educate people of our age group and demographic on the issues that we're dealing with, that is power too.
Yeah.
So there's multiple ways of skinning a cat, and I think we just have to figure out what that is and understand that our voices have power just as much as our vote has power.
Agree?
Yeah, I agree 100%. But a lot of people don't realize no vote is a vote. If you don't vote, you're not helping the cause. They're like, oh, I'm not voting because I don't agree with them. But at the end of the day, you voting isn't going to is still something. It's still going to affect us because you're not helping to make that change. So I agree with you 100%, Keevon.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to be so harsh and say something like silence is ignorance. Mm-hmm. But in a sense it is. Yeah. Having no say at all, not participating, it doesn't help the situation. Did we have a caller? Did I see a finger up? Yes, we do. We have a caller. All right. You can throw your headphones on, and good morning. Thank you for calling the Business Buzz.
Good morning, Kathy, and good morning to your guest. This is Kenneth Bryan, MP for Georgetown Central. A wonderful conversation this morning. I'm so happy that both your guests are talking about this subject. The subject is very, very important to me. I know Keevon very well. Somebody I know for many years now, at least 20 years, right, Keevon?
Yes, sir.
So I think I want to assist a little bit by answering 2 questions and then put a perspective. I know you said piece of things, so I'll try to be as quick as I possibly can.
Thank you, sir.
In respect to the billboards, my quotation about politicians prioritize the issues of those who are registered, sad but true. The principle behind that is that I've been elected now going on to 8 years, and I recognize that, politicians are going to be humans. They're going to focus on also not only the people, but what's also important to them. And the truth is, those who are registered are the ones who keep them in power. And I find it very difficult sometimes myself to prioritize this thousands and thousands of people you have to focus on. And my job is to look out for everybody in this country, even non-Caymanians. What I mean by that is that your job is to run a country and make sure the society is good for all. If you allow them to be here, then you got to make sure the roads are safe, the crime is down, the economy is good for everybody. But when you think about it, human nature is going to kick in, which is if I'm getting 50 phone calls for the day and 30 of them are registered voters and 20 are not, just think about the human behavior. What do you think a representative is going to focus on? The top first 30 people you're going to respond to are those who keep you where you are or who contribute to the democratic process. And that's why I say it's sad, but true. I try my endeavor best every day to look out for everybody's issues, those who are in my constituency, those ones who are not registered. But if you have to pick on time crunches or you only can do so much, who you're going to focus on, and that's my point. So the more registered people, the more the politicians will focus on you. And you're right, Keevon, and your other guest, I can't remember her name, I do apologize. But the point of getting people registered at a young age is going to change the practice, because then you have a new body of thought processes that you have to focus on. And I remember just having this conversation with somebody in your age bracket and they said to me, Kenneth, when are we going to change the Saturday night to have it extended past 12 o'clock? I said, well, the people who are in the average age of 53 years old, they don't care about Saturday night hours anymore because they've passed their party age. Now, if you genuinely want that, you have to do it in the power of your numbers, because politicians are going to say, well, there's 50% of the people want the Saturday night change. So that was an example. I'm not suggesting the Saturday night hours should be changed or not, but it's an example of why people focus on the majority. Now, we have this problem every single 4 years, because remember, people are getting older. So you can bring down the average age this season, and I think there's going to be a large influx of young people, because a lot of people are talking about it. So by the time the last figures come in, you're going to see that number drop. It may drop down as far as 46, because I'm watching the numbers of people getting registered, and I'm hoping it goes even further than that. But remember, 4 years after that, it's going to go back up again, because those persons are getting 4 years older. My point is there has to be a continuous effort of keeping people registered, because every time, right now, there is a 14-year-old out there who's not paying attention to this stuff. They're in school, their parents are taking care of them, but they will eventually become 18. So you have to keep that momentum going all the time. And sadly, we don't become active politically until it's political season. And this is not unique to Cayman. It happens all over the world. So it has to be continuous. I recall when I was 27, I was out there, I had a voter registration drive going. I go, why are my peers not getting registered? Now I'm 44 today, and I know that issues were a priority back then, because we were partying. Vaughn knows this. We used to party together at the club, but it wasn't a big priority for us then. But people change their priorities in life as they get older. They're now thinking about family values, thinking about, I need to buy a home, thinking about, why is the economy the way it is? I need to be able to feed my kids, the cost of living. When you're younger, naturally, most people don't start to think about those things until it affects them. And that's not saying that it's bad on them. You have to enjoy your life, but there's a social responsibility that needs to be activated. And I think this goes into our civics. Even parents, when they're thinking about their kids, guys, I know you're young, I know you're having fun, but you have a moral obligation to pay attention to your society and how it's governed. And that's the only way to keep that number average low, because people don't start to get into that thought process until around age 30, when things are settling. I'm getting married, I'm having a kid, I'm buying a house. Things are no longer about partying or enjoying life. I'm starting to focus on issues where political decisions come into play. So I'm just hoping that could put in the context. I'm really, really happy that both guests are there. And lastly, I wrap it up by saying this. My context of getting the value proposition from the younger people is because of what my sign said, particularly with that group of younger persons. Politicians are not going to gear their messages towards people who are not registered. And that's not good. I'm not agreeing that that's the case, but that's what they're going to do, because those are the people who are going to direct what politicians are going to be selected, is the ones who registered. So the more you get registered, the more the marketing is going to come to you. They're not going to do the seniors events only. Now you're going to have a more younger demographic. You look at the Hive, the Linked Up podcast. They're now starting to be attractive to the legislators and politicians because they see they're getting an audience. And how you get that audience is getting more of them registered people. So that's the logic there. Hopefully that helps a little bit.
No.
Won't take up any more time.
Can you answer some questions from Mr. Brian?
Of course.
So just listening to you, it sounds like you're talking about a popularity contest amongst politicians. That is not this conversation. This conversation is, what are the politicians doing to alleviate the stress? I understand your messaging and understand your reasoning behind it, but that's not this conversation. This conversation is people in power for 4 years have not done their civic duty to fixing issues that are persistent year after year after year. And there's a lot of blame. This person this person that. For example, I'll give you an example. The newly erected mental health building, Ponciana, I think is opening today. So I may be wrong with my dates, but that has been in the works for, let's just say, 8 years. Now, if I look at another building that was, let's just say, constructed by another business owner, granted this is not a business owner, I like to look at government as a business. You guys are there to make sure that the country runs smooth, and you're also there to generate a profit in some extent. But that building has taken so long, when I can look at the new Health City building that has been built in 2 years. So you have a system problem. No disrespect, I don't care for the popularity contest. I care about results, and that is what is demanded by the younger generation now. They're not voting because they're not seeing any results. That's the issue. That's the conversation we're having today.
No problem, and I accept that, because you're right. Government would love to operate like private sector in most days, but unfortunately, that's not how our system is constructed. For example, just you're using your example, private sector don't have to do procurements. They don't have to do an outline business case. They don't have to think about budget constraints because they've already had their money in play. The politicians also have to depend on civil servants that go at the pace upon which they find priority. And there's limited resources. There's only so many things you can do at any one given time. So from outside, it looks that way. And also recognizing that the legislators who are policymakers don't have the authority to do the implementation. We depend heavily on the civil service. So it depends on how strong the civil service operates. You may have heard the former minister talk about depending on the civil servants to finish this project, because we're not allowed to be involved in it, because then you can be accused of interfering in it and giving the contract to this one or that one. So you create
that's still happening today, by the way, by the civil servants.
Well, I know, but you have to that relationship of trying to work together, because it don't make no sense to cry about it. You have to support your civil servants and try your endeavor best to give all the resources they need to get it done. Sometimes it could be as simple as they don't have the resources by human capital to do the stuff that they're expected to do. So it's a unique balance, and most times people may not fully understand it because they don't see the inside of the belly of the beast. But you're right. People don't want to hear that excuse. I don't want to hear excuses. And you have a right to say that because you want to see results. I am not happy. I'm not satisfied with what happened in the last 2.5 years. I can give you an example of the road. We have been trying to alleviate the problem for traffic for the people in eastern districts, and we haven't moved 1 inch in almost 4 years. And I'm not satisfied, but can I override the Department of Environment and the legislation that mandates that we have to go through 5,000 hoops for the environmental assessment while the people are still stuck in traffic every day? But I'm obligated by law. So there's certain things that the private sector are not obligated to do that we as legislators are obligated to do. And now that may sound like an excuse, but it's also a fact. And I really wish I could move faster, because let me tell you something, it's hard to see people every day crying. And I got into this, Vaughn, you know this from when I was younger. I got into this because I had that vigor and I want to change now. But in the real world, it don't happen overnight. And I'm still trying to push against the wall. But there are some things, and you'll learn this as you get more involved politically. There's systems and structures that slow things down, and we have to fix our administrative things. That has to do with the fact that we're overseas territory, who has the power. The governor has a little bit more power than we recognize. We've got to understand how our constitutional structure is, because in most people's eyes, the politician, I elected you, you should be able to do everything. But that's not really the truth. We are limited in respect to policy direction, and then the power is actually within the civil service hands, which is delegated to the deputy governor and the team that is there. So we have to support them as much as possible to give them the resources so they can effectively deliver the things that we want change for the people. Now, legislatively, we're in full control. Now, if there's a reason why there's a law in place that isn't working, we haven't changed it, squarely on our heads. Take us to task for that. But from a delivery of programs, delivery of infrastructure, delivery of other things, we still have to depend on the service, which I know they're trying their hardest. But sometimes it boils down to, how much resources that you give them money-wise, and the private sector don't always have to deal with that. So,
sir,
people always...
sorry for interrupting you, but we have to go to a commercial break in a moment. But before we do, you did say a couple of things when it comes to the private sector not having, let's say, the same responsibilities as government would have. And I would like to give Kayla, who does represent the private sector, a chance to be able to respond to that comment.
Good morning. So I understand the financial constraints, but I will disagree with you when you say that the private sector doesn't have the same procurement problems or whatnot. The reason the private sector can get it done is because everyone at the top, in that C-suite, has the same goal in mind. They are in agreement with what is priority and what isn't. And I know firsthand, the conversations they have, they're looking at what is best for the business, what's best for the community, and what takes priority. So, for example, the hospital that went up in 2 years because they knew that was needed. That was the priority. Even though they have a lot more on the agenda, they knew that was a priority. So they put all their different opinions aside, and they got it done.
All right, thank you.
Kayla, if I can just...
Go ahead.
I do want to... I have to respond.
Respond, of course, yes.
If we're using that example, hospital, that would be suggesting that the government of the day was not in agreement with the mental health facility. And that's simply not the case. Everybody, even the last administration, all believe that we need a mental health facility. It's not like some members have just left and this government is saying, let's stop it. We're all in agreement. So that's not the problem in respect to that. And it goes back to, again, the deliverables and the infrastructure and the dependability on others to deliver a policy piece of infrastructure. So there's no disagreement politically that we need a mental health facility. So when you say prioritizing, that has been prioritized. It's been prioritized in the last administration. So granted, in an independent situation, that body, that entity, that private sector is only dealing with one project and one project alone, while the civil service has to deal with multiple different things going at one time. And I'm not making excuses, but I'm just stating the facts, just to put things in perspective. There are issues that do fall that comes to the forefront that you don't know. There's some private sector projects that are taking forever that hasn't been finished, but we're not using those as an example. So I'm just saying it's not a perfect world. It may seem on the outside. there are other things that factor in. I'll stop there because I'm minded of the fact that you have a commercial, and I don't want to take up your whole show. So unless you want me to stay on a little longer, which I'm happy to do after the break, I'm willing.
I would, we do have other callers, and we do have other comments coming in and some other questions to do, but I would invite you, Minister Bryan, in the new year, should we be able to have this discussion on the Business Buzz, to join us on the Business Buzz when it comes with Millennials again, because I know that I'd like to carry this conversation and continue representing their voices on Radio Cayman, which isn't always heard, and I'm happy that I'm able to bring that perspective to Radio Cayman as we do serve all people. So we'll go to a commercial break right now, and then we'll be back. Thank you.
I'm Michael Webster.
And I'm Denise Brown of Cayman Insurance Center.
Family is not the most important thing, it's everything.
We have worked with the community and their families on protecting themselves for the future.
Whether it's providing top-rated life insurance
or protecting your family's household investment.
From our family to yours, we understand and we care.
I'm Denise Brown. Call me at 814-7229.
And I'm Michael Webster at 925-5433.
We are Cayman Insurance Center.
Specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services at an affordable rate. We are Michael and
Denise at Cayman Insurance Center.
Call today.
This holiday season, let Kirk Market do the roasting so you can do the hosting. Visit in-store or shop online and order your traditional family feast, complete with classic roasted turkey and ham, all the tasty sides and trimmings. Let the chefs at Kirk Market be your holiday helpers so you can spend less time in the kitchen. Order online at kirkmarket.ky or visit in-store today. And don't forget to visit the florist at Kirk Market to find the perfect centerpiece for your table. There's no place like Kirk Market for the holidays.
Kay's Fine Jewelry, luxury with a family touch. This holiday season, make memories sparkle with Kay's Fine Jewelry. From diamond rings to their Caribbean-inspired turtle collection, find gifts as unique as our beautiful Cayman Islands. Enjoy a beverage with your holiday shopping and find out why Kay's Fine Jewelry is ranked #1 for shopping in the Caribbean. Take advantage of exclusive holiday discounts on engagement rings, men's jewelry, their iconic Flexi jewelry collection, or explore their luxurious watch selection featuring top brands like Hamilton and Rado. This holiday season, shop Kay's Fine Jewelry, where luxury meets the heart of the Caribbean. Kay's Fine Jewelry, located on Albert Panton Street, across from the House of Parliament.
Social media, X, formerly Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Interact with our talk shows on YouTube. Download our official Radio Cayman app, or you can log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky. You can also add us to WhatsApp
on 925-3261.
All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Radio Cayman. The Business Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller. Business Buzz.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Business Buzz. I'm your host, Kathy Miller. In the studio, I have with me Keevon Douglas and Kayla Welds, and we are talking about our millennials and Generation Z, totally disconnected from what's going on when it comes to election season, politicians, government system, and what our politicians disconnected from what their issues are. We've had a lot of comments. I know we have a caller on WhatsApp right now. I want to get to the caller in a second. I want to just quickly read some of the comments. No vote is a vote is totally correct. Kayla, that's something that you said earlier, that, you know, no vote is a vote. We have another listener saying, excellent that young people are voicing their concerns, fully accurate the politicians frame and direct their messaging to registered voters because politicians are trying to get their votes. I encourage young people 18 to 34 to register to vote and perhaps run a candidate in their age group if they think that is necessary to get proper representation of their issues in Parliament. If we have enough new young parliamentarians, then maybe they can change how the game works. Instead of elected officials serving special interests, young parliamentarians can ensure that wider interests are borne in mind. Example, the country's interests. We had another comment saying, a couple comments here. What is being done to include young people in our political process and governing of our country? Let me hear so specifics. That doesn't make sense. So sick of the political dog and pony show every 4 years. Another comment. This is what some of these politicians do, eat up all of the youth time. He has a lot of time to get on the radio. Another comment. Minister Bryan needs to stop blaming others, especially the Department of Environment and Conservation Board. So those were some of the comments. Again, I thank Mr. Bryan for his comments and his call, and I do invite him, should we be able to continue this discussion in the new year. I know we have a caller on WhatsApp. Thank you, caller. I know you've been waiting a long time.
Good morning, Kathy.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Morning, Mario Ebanks here. How you doing?
Great, thank you. Good to hear from you.
Good morning to your guests as well. I think you're doing a great job. And good morning to all the people of Cayman Islands and the listeners. I was so encouraged listening to this discussion this morning with these young people. I think it's Miss Wells and Mr. I'm not sure the young man's name. Sorry.
Douglas.
Yeah. Yeah, good morning to both of you, and thank you very much for your work. I was very encouraged by what I heard, and also I was very encouraged. I saw a video last night from a young man, Mr. Jerin, that was done in the Phoenix zone. Young student, he's in SciFec. He plans to run in 2029. He's already campaigning. And I sent the video to you, actually, Kathy. So I think you'll enjoy it, and it's very encouraging. But Kathy, thanks so much for doing this morning. I think this is very, very, very innovative of you to do this with the young people, to give them their voice. So I'm not going to call to make a long statement or take over your show or do a lecture. I just want to ask the young people here a couple of questions that they can ponder and maybe reply to. Could you mention that the young people are feeling a bit disengaged, and some of them are angry and bitter and losing hope, which I hope that's not the case, but we need to change it. But I just want to ask them a couple of questions. Is the source of their frustration or disengagement this heavy spending and borrowing of the government? I mean, for example, they would have borrowed $500 million by the end of this term if they get the next loan that they're trying to borrow. Is that a source of worry for the young people? Secondly, the issue of our concrete jungle that we're developing, where it's concrete everywhere and things are so expensive, is that a worry for our young people? And in the question of spending, I see in the Compass, Cayman Compass, probably the last 2 or 3 weeks, 4 full-page ads faced, like centerfold, with it's just a pile of art on it, and it's sponsored by the Ministry of Sustainability. And for the last 3 weeks, it's been those 4 pages in the Compass, last 3 Fridays. And those probably cost, each page, based on the going rates and colors, probably cost between $800 and $1,000 per page. So that's a lot of money being spent. If it's being paid for, I don't think it's free, but if it's being paid for, it's a lot of money that could be used for elderly, young people, etc. So that's in regard to spending. But my final question,
that's 4 questions, Mario. We don't have a whole lot of time to answer all these questions.
One final question is that, are the young people concerned about the proposal to have a referendum to decriminalize the use of marijuana? So that's my 4 questions. Thank you very much, and appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. You too. Thank you. Anybody want to tackle any of those questions? If you remember the 4 of them.
Kayla can go first.
The government spending was a big one that he had.
So the first one, I think so. I feel like the government spending is not utilized properly. It's just basically it's more for selfish gain at this point. Why they want the money, I'm not going to go into specifics. I think we all know. And I think that is a big concern, just based on, well, you have all this power to borrow all this money for your own personal gain, but what happens to us? Where does this money actually go to develop the community properly? I think that's the concern. The environmental, a lot of Gen Z and millennials are more conscious of the environmental aspects of what's happening in Cayman. Like, no one, you're talking about, I guess, Minister of Sustainability and having these ads. A lot of people, or a lot of my generation, we usually, like, I'll read the Compass on the internet. I mean, I'll get the paper, but it's more accessible on the internet, and then now it's free.
Mm-hmm.
So why not just continue there instead of paying all this money to get this printed ad out every week, 4 pages? I think missed the legalizing of marijuana. Personally, that doesn't affect me, but I guess for a younger generation, especially with those with mental health issues, we find a lot of benefits from it. And I find that the court system isn't fair either. Like those that have marijuana charges, they're getting a longer sentence than those that have committed a more serious crime.
Like sexual assault.
Exactly. So I think that is another issue, because I don't see where marijuana has kind of affected the community as much as, sexual assaults. So why are they getting harsher sentences than sexual offenders?
All right. I'm also very cognizant that you do have to leave. So if there's other thoughts I know you want to share, so if you want to share any of these thoughts before you leave, please do so.
I just want to quickly touch on why a lot of younger voters aren't voting either is because of jury duty. I've actually spoken to quite a bit of people, and that is a fear. The court system isn't the best, and how we handle jury duty it's a scary process. I've sat on a few, and it's not the most comfortable, and there's no sympathy either. I remember I had knee surgery 2 weeks, and they only gave me 2 weeks off, and I still had to wobble in there to sit on a court case with my knee completely swollen. But it's also the fear of sitting on these serious cases and not having your identity, I guess, sealed. I think a lot of people are fearful of retaliation when you're making these decisions, because the island is so small, anything is possible. So I think it's just having that kind of security when you're sitting on these court cases that make it a bit easier, and that might help people to say, you know what, I'm safe when I go to jury duty, then I'll register to vote. But there's a lot of young Caymanians that don't register to vote because they don't want to do jury duty.
Right. That's the same sentiments that I heard when I was speaking to some Gen Z people. Jury duty was a big thing. People feel like they don't want to sit there and have to judge somebody else's life in that sense. And the protection is huge. A lot of people are very afraid of retaliation happening, and especially since we've seen retaliation happen.
Exactly.
So that's a big thing. I think, if I'm right, we have one last commercial break that I'm a little late on. So thank you, Kayla, so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Keevon, you and I are going to continue the discussion.
Yep.
I know we have other callers as well. Hang in there, guys.
I do want to touch on that question.
I know. Yes, you can answer Mario, but we got to go to the break first.
Yep, no problem.
Okay.
This holiday season, let Kirk Market do the roasting so you can do the hosting. Visit in-store or shop online and order your traditional family feast, complete with classic roasted turkey and ham, all the tasty sides and trimmings. Let the chefs at Kirk Market be your holiday helpers so you can spend less time in the kitchen. Order online at kirkmarket.ky or visit in-store today. And don't forget to visit the florist at Kirk Market to find the perfect centerpiece for your table. There's no place like Kirk Market for the holidays.
Nominations are now open for National Heroes Day Awards 2025. This year, we honor Caymanian excellence in business in recognition of the icons of entrepreneurship, innovation, and leadership, those whose ingenuity and hard work have shaped our business community. Submit your nomination online at gov.ky/labor or email nhd@gov.ky for more details. Nomination deadline has been extended to December 14th. Don't wait. Make your nomination today.
Healthcare Pharmacy, caring about your health for the past 25 years. Radio Cayman's premier health show.
Alzheimer's and dementia, are they the same disorder?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
Is heard on Saturdays at 9:30 a.m. and on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Brought to you by Healthcare Pharmacy in Grand Harbor, where they care about your health. Transfer and refill your prescription online. Visit healthcarepharmacy.ky or call 947-8900. Healthcare Pharmacy, now with a second location in Governor's Square. Healthcare Pharmacy, where they care about your health. The Business Buzz with your host, Kathy Miller. Business Buzz.
All right, welcome back to the Business Buzz. I'm your host, Kathy Miller. Kayla just left, so thank you, Kayla, for joining us this morning and being able to give your voice as a millennial on how you feel about the issues going on and why your generation is a little disengaged from politics pretty much in Cayman. Keevon, I know you wanted to answer some of Mario's questions that he had there. If you want to go ahead and give it a go.
Firstly, he started with our generation being angry and bitter. I disagree. I know what I hear said that we're angry and bitter. I think if anything, we're just maybe annoyed of not being heard. Definitely not angry and bitter. And one thing we are not is stupid. And I think it comes across that we aren't smart enough to understand what is going on. So what we'll usually do is just remove ourselves, and I think the numbers show that that's the case. Concrete jungle, I agree 100%. This is something that I am very adamant about. I think that we tend to knock down all the trees and build these tall buildings. For example, there's one on West Bay Road. I'm not going to get into any fine details, but on that side, no, we cannot even enjoy the sunset. You know, there's videos circulating of our beaches being taken over by umbrellas and rented chairs. We have to look at our tourism product. I think Mr. Brian, Rosa, and everybody, I think they're doing an amazing job in a lot of aspects, but I would do it injustice if I sat here and say that it is perfect. And just like Mr. Brian spoke about, we're not living in a perfect world. I think there's a lot of improvements that can be made, and I think hearing us out and understanding what those improvements are crucial to the change. So the concrete jungle, yes. The cash spend, if we are frustrated on the cash spend, I am frustrated more so on the process of the cash spend, especially as a business owner. So I'm actually glad that Mr. Brian brought up the procurement, because this is something I have a personal issue with the procurement issue. 2018, the Procurement Act came into play. I think anything that's basically a system. Anything that has started is always going to have its growing pains. From my understanding, how it works is the procurement department will, break down a bunch of suggestions, and this is now presented to, I don't want to misquote, it's not parliament, it is, what did Mr. Brian say, legislation. Right? These go on behind closed doors. That's just how that works. However, these suggestions have the ability to be deferred. And I understand that procurement was deferred earlier on in the year on certain suggestions that needed to be changed. One of those things is the bonfire system. You're not legally bound to put anything on the procurement that is under 100,000. So for me, you're excluding smaller businesses. So
great point.
Right. So then it was taken away from the politicians because obviously they have abused in the past. So that's why the procurement system is there. And it's now been handed down to the civil servant, and they are only required to take 3 procurements. Now, granted, I understand, and this is in order to make the system work faster, to Mr. Brian's point, because things do get slowed down. There is a procurement process. The problem comes in when we have civil servants biasly using their power to dictate which 3. So I personally feel that the procurement system needs to be 100% a bonfire, and it needs to be removed from the civil servants.
Okay.
And giving everybody a fair opportunity. And there's also many loopholes inside that system that needs to be looked at. So let's just keep everything under 100,000. Let's do it 999. and I'm not, I'm not saying anything that is not going on. So these are things that we need to look at, and there's still biasness happening within that system. And then going into this Mr. E-Banks, right? And going into this is now where we also have a lot of spending that goes under the radar. So I understand what Mr. Brian was trying to say with saying that there's processes and systems in place and having to use what we have, make the best with what we have to do. But I think there's things that definitely needs to be looked at, and we need to focus on the systems of government. We can have this show every 4 years. We can have new voters. We can put that voter number down. It's not going to change anything, because if we don't have anything that is holding these politicians accountable, for example, if you're late for this show, the show started at 7:30.
Right.
And you're late. Let's say you're late 2 times for the week for a month, what's going to happen to you?
I'll definitely get reprimanded for it.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's impossible for you to govern yourself. That's what we're having right now. So granted, we are voting these normal human beings who believe that they are above everybody. You can't govern yourself.
Right.
This is the problem. So systems need to be put in place to hold these human beings accountable.
And a lot of the time that accountability is stemming from the voters.
Yes.
Right.
I would say a part of that, yes. And then the voters, so the 4 elected members that stepped down, when they seen me the other day, I said to them, you have to understand, you're not wrong, but understand that the voters or the general public, we have so much going on right now. We have to pay bills, right? We gotta take care of our kids. We don't have time. The general public doesn't have time to focus on the policies, legislation, and all that. So it's very hard for somebody to hold you accountable. So this is where the systems come into play. We need that to also be in place. So they are right. We need the public to get involved. We need more of the me's, and we need her as well to come in and speak her mind and talk from a she's representing the, how can I say, private sector, right? So we need more of that. We need people coming in and speaking, holding politicians accountable, but we need something in place to hold them accountable when we're not there.
And 100%. We only have a few minutes left.
No problem.
I'm not sure if we have any callers that are... We do have a couple callers left. Okay, thank you, callers, for hanging in there. Let us take the call.
Hello, am I on?
Hello, good morning. Thank you for calling the Business Buzz.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay, very well. Okay. I've been holding on for about 20 minutes, but it's good I'm on. Now, 2 things. One, the issue about procurement that you've spoken about, though I was not going to talk about that on this call, I have to talk about that. The problem in government, I agree with some of the things that you've said, but part of the problem is that you don't have an attorney general who can enforce the law. Because one time in Parliament, the attorney general's office was asked, why is it that you do not follow the tender procedures? You are just giving work to anybody who you please. And the answer was, well, we want to work with those people who we are used to working with. Now, if everybody in government is going to do that, then what is the use of the rules? So even the person who is supposed to enforce the laws is not enforcing the law. Second and last point. You see, the reason partly why as young people you are not so much engaged in this is because there has been a plan by the deep state, by the government in Cayman, successive governments, as well as foreign people in Cayman, to only keep you knowledgeable in certain areas. When I was in government, I developed a few little courses, like for judicial review to help you how to argue your case if your license is refused, and how to be able to participate in formulating legislation. And the government spent $80,000 to go to court to prevent me from doing that. So there is a problem in that your own government does not want you to be involved. I can't develop it anymore. I'll leave it there because the time is short. I thank
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, caller. I appreciate you being cognizant of the time, and I appreciate your comments. Great comments. Susan, we have one more caller.
And I agree with that caller, by the way. That's knowledge is power. Why would we?
Absolutely.
Why would we?
He said some very interesting things right there. Good morning to our next caller. You have less than a minute, sir, or ma'am.
Good morning, it's Captain Rambo speaking.
Hey, Ramba, how you doing?
Good. I'll be a faster rapidly.
Thank you, sir.
This whole legislation, the executive control of it, right? Obviously, right? I give you this significant in general about this now, right? You see, the Constitution is a vital letter, physical document now. So when you obsolete it or omit it, you need someone in power now to reconstitutionalize it. You know what I'm saying? And when they caucus now, the cabinet is a party vote with a ratio proportion is very low. Right? They're not representative of the predicament. See? And first of all, we came on because we don't take us serious. I've been voting from 2005, every general election at 40 years old. Right? So we don't take us seriously. So what came on how I replicated in the last election is that you give different prime ministers reshuffling. I hope next year they get that together because it's 4 years time goes for my legs. It doesn't happen in the arena. And it's not a passion to. And my sentiments. And now, it comes to the time on the theater. Now good is.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your call, Rambo. I appreciate you. Keevon, did you want to give any reflections on the last call?
I think all the callers are all right. It's clear as day what the issue is. It's going back to systems. I can always revert and digress to that. Systems need to be in place, and we need to look at what the systems are. We need to look at this as I would look at it as a CEO standpoint and see what's working, what's not working.
Right.
Flush it out, throw it away. Whatever's taking too much time, throw it out. Whatever's spending too much money, throw it out, and start fresh. This is what's happening right now in the U.S. of A. with Donald Trump. He may not be popular. Granted, he won the popular vote. That's what they're doing. They're looking at what's working.
We'll see. We'll see what's going to happen in the USA.
Well, I mean,
but to go back to right here, local elections. I know I have to wrap up the show, and I know there's so much more that I had laid out for us to discuss and go at. But there's been some comments coming in from people about how the younger generation can can organize themselves to be heard better. And, you know, there was also the call that came in from Minister Bryan that, you know, we are paying attention to the issues that are affecting who the registered voters are. And Kayla, who was on the show with you a little earlier, had brought up, you know, we're not being spoken to, so that there's other events going on for the seniors and the voters, but not us. And my thing is, if we are not even trying to get the non-voters interested, why would they participate? Because part of the Gen Z feedback in my community was that they've never seen their elected representative within their community. They're not speaking to them, especially when it comes to their kind of issues. So again, it's that disengagement, that do we even kind of care to speak to your crowd? How do we get the younger generations more involved?
I mean, just going back to my comments, it's a popularity contest, so they're going to look at the numbers. I mean, he spoke about the billboard. It's clear that's what they're doing. So they're going to continue to do so. Again, this is not that conversation, and we're just going to, I think the same thing is going to continue to happen. Yes, you are right. They're not being engaged. They're not there. I spoke at the panel that the 4 individuals stepped down, and that was the topic there. You know, we need the public to get involved, but you need to get involved. You need to be where we are hanging out. You know,
that too, yeah.
Like be on the TikToks, be on the Instagram, but just
with
not
the
just,
right message.
With not just what to say.
Who is on that?
You need to change your marketing team. So your marketing team is probably old, and then there's plenty of politicians that I've spoken to. Mr. Bryan is one of them as well, where I've offered my services and trying to come on board and help. I'm here, and my phone is ringing, so it is what it is.
Gotcha. I know we went a few minutes over on the show today. I want to thank everybody who did call in and comment. I'm just going to take a minute to just go over some more of those comments, and then I'm going to wrap up. One person via WhatsApp said, I will vote, but at what point in my life will I earn $600,000 for a home? I don't want to work and pay rent for the rest of my life either. And I did not want to get tied to a mortgage either. Why is everything so expensive? We are just a little island. That is coming from a very overseas number.
That's a different conversation.
Yeah, so, different conversation.
Yeah, that's a educational conversation on financial literacy.
Oh, I like this comment a lot. Less talk, old politicians, more listening. I would like to hear more from our young people. Do more shows like this, Kathy.
And I'm down.
If I'm in the position to do so, which I hope I am, because I know that I bring in the,
thank you.
Our generation coming in. Very happy to do so. It's an honor, and to just be able to have the dialogue and conversation going, because we need to have it.
And I've been trying to have this conversation for 2 years on the same platform, so thank you for having me.
No problem.
Appreciate it. I had to come through the back door.
Hey, that could sound away. Thank you so much for joining us on the Business Buzz this morning. I know I went a little late, but thank you everybody for joining us. I do hope that we'll continue this kind of conversation in the new year. Although, I'll be with you for a few more shows in 2024, and I'll be back with you on Thursday morning.
The Business Buzz is proudly sponsored by Cayman Insurance Center, specializing in property, life, and other lines of insurance products and services. And Kirk Market, experience a world of choice. And by JGP Janitorial, lose the mop, they'll clean the slop. JGP Janitorial, 548-1221.
Covering Little Cayman, Kim and Bragg.